Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's County Council meeting. The 6 o'clock hour is upon us. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please give us an invocation. May we stand for the invocation and remain standing for the pledge of allegiance.
Let us pray. Our dear kind Heavenly Father, we do thank you for once again allowing us to come to the table to discuss the business of the people. We thank you for giving us the opportunity to serve, and we do believe that we are your appointed one for such a time as this. We invite your presence as we approach our agenda, but we also want to just thank you for our county administrator, his staff, and to all the citizens that are here to witness our meeting this evening. Help us that all that we do is according to your will. We ask you to continue to bless our men and women who are serving our country in uniform, and especially those that are serving in harm's way. And as we approach the Thanksgiving season and the end of the year with all the beauty of Christmas and all that it represents, we just ask that you help us to keep you at the forefront of everything that we do, to always have grateful hearts for and of thanksgiving for the things that you have done for us and continue to do. These are all blessings we thank and ask you for in the precious name of our Savior, Jesus the Christ. Amen, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Banning, any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes.
No. We moved it properly seconded that we approve tonight's agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The agenda is adopted. I have a motion to approve our minutes from November 12th. We moved and seconded that we approve our minutes from our meeting on November 12th. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. The minutes are adopted. Land use matters and rezoning requests. RZ 2419.
Bear with me for a second. Technology seems to be conspiring against me. There. Oh, it rebooted itself. My apologies. I have to find this presentation. Technology making life better since this inception. Helen Reedman for planning staff. This evening we have RZ 2419 at 2950 Ebenezer Road. The request is being brought forward by Charlotte James, the property owner. This is to rezone approximately 10 acres from residential 9 to agricultural conservation. The property is, I don't know what I just did. Let's go back to that slide.
Did it lock up?
It just turned itself off. It disappeared off my slide. Okay. Let me find it. It's there, but we'll fly this way. Oh, look at this screen and pretend like I know what I'm doing this evening. It's for 10 acres. It's actually behind Mr. and Mrs. James' house. They have acquired this property in an effort to expand their backyard nursery. Currently, they sell from farmers markets, but they purchased this land within the last 6 or 7 months in an effort to have a place to expand their growing operation and to eventually create a space where they can actually have a retail facility. Currently, the R9 zoning does not allow that, so they're requesting to go to agricultural conservation because that zoning district does permit the raising of the plants that they currently grow, and it also will allow them to create a retail sales facility in compliance with the zoning ordinance. It is in the military protection planning area. When we look at rezoning requests, we look at what the comprehensive plan says. In this instance, the military protection planning area is supportive of any zoning district that significantly reduces residential density. In this case, going from R9, which allows minimum 9,000 square foot lots, to agricultural conservation, which is a minimum 1 acre lot, is generally supported by the plan. Additionally, because of the size and shape of this particular parcel, it would not be practical to further subdivide it. It was purchased and cut off with a very specific end user in mind, so it will be this size to remain this size. Planning Commission does recommend approval of this request. It is in alignment with the 2040 comprehensive plan, and the rezoning to the AC district will significantly reduce the possibility of residential density on the property. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions on this review? Prior to action on the second reading, we will hold a public hearing and now declare a public hearing open. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this rezoning request, please proceed to the podium, state your name for the record.
Good evening. My name is Charlotte James, and I am the property owner. My husband is back there with our 4 children. So I do want to state that our purpose for requesting the rezoning to the AC instead of R9 is so that we can establish a retail operation. We do not have intentions of placing mobile homes in this area because we would like to keep it consistent as much as possible with the R9 district that's already adjacent to it. And we do lots of native plants and native trees that we hope to expand into this area in an effort to improve pollinator presence and native wildlife presence within that area. We do plan on putting using most of the space for grow area so that we can become eligible for certain programs through the USDA and the NRCS, the Natural Resources Conservation Services. So those are our main objectives. I just wanted to let that be known.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Approval second reading. Second. Been moved and properly seconded that we approve second reading for RZ 2419. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Second reading passed. RZ 2420.
RC 2420 is at 725 South St. Paul's Church Road. This is a request being brought forward by St. Paul Development LLC. Mr. John Hilton is here to represent the property owner as the authorized agent. This is to rezone a 33-acre portion of TMS number 159000201 from residential 15 to residential 9. You may be familiar, this is the larger parent tract. The whole acreage is only 33 acres. This is the subject request. Earlier this summer, it came before you for rezoning to neighborhood commercial in R15. It has, since that time, modified a portion of that request to go to R9 because they were able to acquire secondary fire access to raise the number of lots on that property from 30 lots to 40 lots. It is currently an undeveloped agricultural field. And it is, this is not accurate, but this is, it's currently zoned R15. The area that you see in the darker yellow on this graphic is what's being proposed to go to R9. And then the area that you see in pink is currently neighborhood commercial and not proposed to change. So the subject of this request is to take that darker yellow section and take it to R9 zoning from R15. It is in the Point Set Electronic Combat Range Compatibility District. This is really a noise notification district. This will come into play as subdivision development. Simply that noise notification will be required as part of the planning process for the subdivision. and it will be required at the entrance to the subdivision. This is the overall layout. You have approximately 40 lots with 2 alternate fire accesses that have been approved by the fire inspector. Each of these lots is significantly larger in terms of area than an R9 minimum because they will be served by septic tank. But the impetus to go to R9 is because the lot frontage requirement in the R9 from R15 is 75 feet versus 100 feet. So it lets them net the extra 10 units that they would like to have on this property. Over and above that, the actual minimum lot size on these as a function of how it's laid out is that most of these lots are half acre or larger in size. It is in the suburban development planning area, but it is right across the street from the military protection planning area. So these areas where we have comp plan districts that meet, we do take a closer focus at the impact of density. We do find that while R15 theoretically is more compatible with this location, because of the lack of sewer in this area, R9 is also suitable because the lots will end up at a larger yield of at least a half acre for that property to work. So overall, it is generally compatible with comp plan. Planning Commission did recommend approval of this request because public sewer is not available, but public water is. Development on this property will yield lot sizes at a half acre or greater. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
We will have a public hearing or taking action on second reading. Now declare the public hearing open. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this rezoning request, please proceed to the podium. State your name for the record.
Good evening. My name is John Hilton. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, St. Paul Development, which is Dr. Dunlap and myself. We're the owners of this property. Helen did a great job explaining the nuts and bolts and highlighting that there is no public sewer, and so although we are going to what would be a fairly high density zoning, the no sewer is a very strong restriction on the larger lots. I'll add that I lived in this neighborhood and have my whole life, and there's no one that cares anymore about it. I was just visiting with my neighbor here before the meeting started, and that Doc and I have purchased this property and are spending a lot of money on the design phase right now, so we sure appreciate y'all's support. Happy to bring new housing here where we live.
Thank you, Bill. Anyone else? Public hearing is closed. Approval second reading. Properly seconded that we approve second reading. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Second reading is passed. Ordinance number 2406.
OA 2406, it relates to utility scale solar projects. This is a request to amend Article 5, Section 5B3F for primary photovoltaic solar energy systems, also known as utility scale solar power facilities, to revise setback standards and make other minor clarifications and establish special exception review criteria. You should have received this morning some corrections or some additions to the language. So this actually highlights those changes. We received comments from some interested members of the public after first reading related to some tweaks that they would like to see to make it clearer for potential developers in the future. And we took those requests, and the 3 that made sense we have implemented. So let's go over this request. As you may recall, initially when we developed the language last year, our setbacks for solar projects were 300 feet from all property lines regardless. This latest development actually takes some context sensitivity into the setbacks and proposes to lay out a series of setbacks. So on our public roads that SCDOT classifies as principal arterials or minor arterials, so those are our major roadways, our corridors into the community, we would propose keeping a 300-foot setback as was established in the original language. All other public roads, which basically is any road owned by SCDOT or the municipalities that are not classified as a minor arterial or a principal arterial, we would have a 200-foot setback. And then off of private roads where there is right-of-way or not right-of-way, there would be a 50-foot setback, and that's spelled out about how you would establish that. When a project is abutting residential use parcels, regardless of the zoning district, also a 200-foot setback. When it's abutting an adjacent undeveloped parcel that is residential zoning, whether it's developed or not, also a 200-foot setback from the property line. And when an adjacent non-residential use parcel in the AC district, commercial and industrial zoning districts exist, it would be a 100-foot setback from that property line. When the proposed area is comprised of multiple abutting tax parcels, there should be no setback required between parcels that are part of the internal project area. We have struck the word leased because the project area may or may not be leased. It may be developed by the property owner. It may be developed by a leasing authority. Regardless, the intent is that it's the internal project area, can cross over property lines if it's part of the central development area. And then we added some sections about possible reductions to project setbacks. The Board of Zoning Appeals may reduce the setbacks along public roads that are not classified as principal arterials or minor arterials by up to 50% when it can be demonstrated that specific project site topography and or environmental conditions on the site necessitate placement closer to a roadway to maintain appropriate separation from those environmentally sensitive features and steep slopes. So that could potentially reduce the setback on a public road to 100 feet, but they would have to demonstrate a true need for that. It also does not impact the required buffering. There's still a required 50-foot buffer with intense landscape screening. We do not touch any of that language from what was originally adopted. And individual residential property owners may waive the 200-foot setback requirement to reduce that setback to 100 feet, but it would be the responsibility of the developer applicant to acquire the necessary approvals from those adjacent residential property owners, and that waiver will have to be in the form of a legally binding agreement, and a copy of that executed agreement has to be provided as part of the formal special exception application process. Generally, the impetus for those agreements would be some sort of compensation offered by the developer to the property owner, or some other thing that the property owner finds of value. The planning department would not be involved in that agreement process. The county would not be involved in that agreement process. It's purely a private agreement. And then we add one clarification. The above referenced setbacks, whatever they are, shall be interpreted to apply to all improved areas associated with the project. The provision excludes any, and we added internal access roads, security fencing, and perimeter stormwater management facilities. Permanent stormwater management facilities. However, all of those items have to be located behind the permanent vegetated screens. So they don't have to meet a 200 or 300 or 100-foot setback, but they do have to be behind the landscape screening so that effectively all you're seeing potentially from a roadway is the main driveway entrance, and everything else is there. We did also correct a reference in here where we have the wrong subsection reference for landscape buffering, so that is also a correction. This is new language from the first reading, and it particularly lays out the vested rights timeline on the use approval from the Board of Zoning Appeals. This does not change functionally how vested rights work on special exceptions, but it does clearly lay it out in the special exception criteria for this use. Functionally, they get 6 months from the date of approval by the Board of Zoning Appeals to take action to either get a general development plan approved by the Planning Commission or a site plan approved by the Planning Commission to extend their vested right period. If they do not do either of those two things within that 6 months of the approval, then they have to go back through the special exception process, and then whatever the site conditions are that are in effect at that time apply to the development sites. They'll have to reevaluate the entire project. Planning Commission did recommend approval of the initial changes. We do believe that these changes do make it possible for large-scale solar to function in specific locations in the community, and have to answer questions that you have.
Any questions on this rule? We will have a public hearing on this ordinance amendment as well. Public hearing is now. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this ordinance amendment, please proceed to the podium. State your name for the record. Hearing none, public hearing is closed.
Move approval, second reading.
It's been moved been properly seconded that we have second reading, approved second reading for ordinance number 2406.
Mr. Chairman. We've gotten a good bit of information shot at us regarding this ordinance that will have some long-lasting effect. I'd like to see us talk about it internally a little bit more before we take a vote on it. This has some long-range effects and we need to be sure that we get this right. And I'm particularly concerned because I have a rural county. And so I'd like to see it go back to that, have us discuss some of these changes and the effects that they could make. There's no rush to pass this tonight. Some of you don't have rural areas in your district, so you could probably care less, but I do, and I have to be sure that we're crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's. There is no emergency to pass it tonight. I'd like to see us talk internally.
I'd like to ask, if I could, are they on a timeline with this? So, I mean, is this one of the first steps that's got to be taken done before they can move to the next phase, which is?
The changes to the ordinance would have to happen in order to make a current project viable.
And this is an ordinance. This is not just specifically related
Yeah, I know.
to this project. So
I was part of that ordinance, and I've given in to make this thing fit out there, and, I don't know, I'm ready to vote on it. I mean, I know you're saying that it's in the rural area, but I still say that we spent a lot of time on this ordinance.
when you say we spend a lot of time with it, what does that mean?
Well, we first of all spent probably a month looking at how we wanted to deal with solar farms here, or longer. And then we got one that's popping up, and then to make it fit, we had to rearrange some of our buffers, or not buffers, but from the 300 feet to the 200 feet, either to the 100 feet. And I was assuming that this was a go. I know they're offering to support the community out there.
They're offering some support to the community.
And I think they're gonna offer the rest of the support that you were looking for.
Is that
By other means. And I don't know, I just feel like it's, we spent our time with this. I don't know, what are you concerned about, I guess?
Well, I appreciate your comments and respect your comments, but let me just say, this is an ordinance, so it's going to affect the entire county moving on. This is going to be the law. So we should not process this lightly. If we spent a month on it and there's still unrest, then we should spend as much time as necessary because it's, the people's work. And as I said earlier, I think Ms. McGaney and I are the only two council people who have entirely rural areas. So any future farms are probably going to attempt to come to our area. They're not going to go to Wilson Hall. They're not going to come in the urban part of your district. They're certainly not coming down in the chairman's district. They're not coming into East Sumter, and they're not coming into West Sumter. They're going to be coming into District 1, and they're going to be coming in to Ms. McGaney's district. And so I think we are due that respect if we want to make sure we are representing our constituents appropriately. The fact that we have spent X amount of time on it, I mean, the relevance of that does not overshadow protecting and ensuring that the public, is protected. We started out with the 300 feet variance, which everybody was satisfied with. Then we find out that there has to be some adjustment to that. I need to make sure that I'm comfortable.
I think the adjustment they were making was to keep it in Suffolk County. If we didn't do that, they would have to move it to Lee County.
A portion,
it's right on the line, a portion of it.
a portion of
Yeah, a
it.
portion of it to Lee County.
Right.
And I think we were trying to keep as much in Suffolk as we could, and it's not farmland. timberland that they're cutting. So, that was one thing that I was always concerned about is the farmland. You know, I don't really have a lot of unrest with it. I feel that if we're gonna do it, let's do it. You know, and I think we were never going into all this, changing this and changing that if we weren't gonna do it.
Well, I saw that as a discussion. I didn't see that as a fail-safe deal. I saw that as a discussion. I still think it's a discussion, as all matters that come before council.
Yeah.
And there are matters that come before council where we make decisions that don't serve the people in the best way that they should be served, and we end up having to come back and make adjustments. And what I'm suggesting is that we have some more internal conversation about it. We're talking about another meeting.
Well, can I ask, what is your concern with what's going on with it?
Well, I want to make sure that I do the appropriate research. Some of this stuff was sent to us a few days ago. I mean, maybe you had some inside prior conversation, maybe the chairman did, maybe some other members of council did. I did not. That does occur on occasion, as you know.
But how many, what did we strike? What, 2? How many lines? What was the difference you made?
I actually took one word out, the word least, on, the language here. Everything else that you see on that screen was part of the original packet you received.
Right. I had some concerns then. In fact, you and I had a conversation about it.
About what?
At the last meeting when we were talking about some of the setbacks that had been changed. In fact, you asked me, was I comfortable? And at that time, I told you I wanted to study it a little bit. And so I want us to have some more conversation about it. We should not be in the business of rushing to do the people's business. I mean, I've noticed that in meetings that we have, we rush to get through meetings. It's almost like a race to see how quickly we can finish. And the people's business should not ever be managed that way. And each of us made a commitment to serve. And if we didn't have the time to serve, or if we didn't want to sit through the meetings, if we didn't want to have the long conversations, then we probably should have chosen not to serve. I'm prepared to stay as long as I need to stay. I got a blanket in the car. We need to spend the night.
I'll stay as long as need to.
And I'll tell you, Councilman from Dazzell, I work in the General Assembly, and there's been times when we have spent tonight doing the budget, the whole night, starting at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and leaving 7:30 the next morning. So I'm just telling you, the commitment to do the people's business should be apparent and prominent and first. And I'm saying to you, as the councilman who has a totally rural area, and I'm speaking from Ms. McGaney as well, I want us to have some internal conversation about it.
Could I ask one? Did they not just have a community meeting out there?
They did.
Barbecue?
They did.
Did you go to it?
No, I was traveling.
Oh, okay. But isn't that what you always preach, that if we're gonna do something in the rural areas, we need to make sure that everybody's involved? Have they been involved with everybody out there?
They had a community meeting.
And didn't they go reach out to the folks whose land was buffering this? You
My
told me that. I just know.
understanding from Mr. Belton is they did.
Okay, so they had no complaints about any of that?
According to Mr. Belton, that's correct. But if you want to go down the rabbit hole, I mean, we can go down the rabbit hole, but you're not gonna like what I'm gonna have to say. We can do that.
Where I'm at.
I mean, we can do that. I mean, because the first proposition about this whole project, the company agreed to do something that it has backtracked on.
And we figured, and we have figured out how to deal with it.
And so, I mean, if you want to have that conversation, let's have it in all truthfulness. You know, that did not make me feel good. And there were people sitting in that room who are sitting around this table right now who are aware of the commitment that was made. And then subsequent to that, the correspondence that was sent did not represent the commitment that was made in the meeting.
So
And that's a fact.
And that's what's giving you questions about the changing in the order?
No, I think we need to have further discussion, but in all truthfulness, you're telling me about what the company did, what this person did, what that person did.
And we're all the meetings. I wasn't in one single meeting.
Which is why I'm informing you that there was a commitment made. And that commitment is not now going to be fulfilled. And so now council is attempting to complete what the company agreed to do in the meeting that I attended. And I can show you my notes. I've showed it to the chairman, and I've had that conversation with the chairman. You can ask him. He'll acknowledge it. He was in the meeting. The chairman has seen my notes.
So if they gave you the full amount of money that you were looking for, you'd be fine with it?
No, we'd still have to have a discussion about the setbacks.
Well, I've said what I'm ready, so I'm ready to vote on it.
Danny?
Thank you, for, Mr. Chairman. I'm willing to hear more information. If Councilman Washington is wanting to bring more information, studying it more, I'm willing. And my reason is, I have some constituents in my area that have strong feelings about solar farms or whatever. If y'all recall, we had one that we made a decision on right in our council meeting, and actually we denied it. Of course, I'm of the opinion that when people have properties, that I do my best to try to help them to honor what it is that they're trying to develop. But by the same token, I would like to be able to make informed decisions. So what I'm hearing from Councilman Washington is he's wanting to study it and bring more information. And I see nothing wrong with that. We asked, the question was asked if there is an urgency, and I didn't hear anyone say that there is. So, we have time to do it, and haste does make waste. And so, yes, I'm willing, and I hope that we can decide to do that unanimously. Just give Councilman time to study it and discuss it with me as well, because my area would definitely be affected once this is done. And with all due respect to the applicant, with all due respect.
And Mr. Baker, I'll offer another thought. It's interesting that this project is in the rural area and we're quick and ready to vote on it. But there are other matters that are not in the rural areas where we spend a lot of time talking about these things and making sure they're appropriate for people who are not in the rural area. And I'm just telling y'all that is gonna stop. Rural people are gonna be respected.
But they were respected with this.
Well, and what I'm saying to you is, we need to have more. We need to have more conversation.
And I did want to ask, when you said that we need to have more internal discussion, like go back to committee. Yeah. I'm in agreement. I support that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I sit here and I'm listening. Let me make this statement. I know that solar energy is the new technology that I hear. It's going to help people. And I personally now benefit from it from Black River Solar Farm. But at the same time, I want to respect property owners. I want them to be able to live with this. And if they're having problems living with this, I'm saying, what is the rush to do this and not respect property owners? So we have to come out and give the time. We like to rush into things. And sometimes we make decisions that's going to have a lifelong impact on the life of our people. So with that in mind, let's take the time to make sure that when we make a decision that the people is going to be impacted on are pleased with that decision. But if they're not pleased with it right now, let's talk about it. That's all.
I don't think there's anybody that's not pleased with it out there. I think Mr. Washington just just wanting to make sure he understands what we're getting ready to vote on, right? Is that basically what you?
I'm not.
I mean, I haven't heard anybody from that lives around that area say anything negative about it. They had a community meeting last week, barbecue of them, and then they had, I think, they were contacting everybody that's adjacent to the property.
You also aware that, you know, when the initial agreement to this project was on the table, all of the setbacks were 300 feet.
Yeah.
Subsequent to that, those setbacks have now changed. I need to make sure that I'm okay with that. That's what I'm saying.
And I was the one that pointed to 300 feet.
Yeah,
You remember?
exactly. That's my point. So I need to make sure that I'm okay with that. And I'm not there yet. So I want us to have more dialogue. I mean, this is not rocket science, guys.
Yeah.
Mr. Cooley, you got some homeowners, property owners that are here?
I do, Chairman. We were prepared to speak in support, but when no one else came up, they had told me, Marshall, I'm not crazy about speaking in public, and so I told them they didn't have to.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Point of order. Council is having a discussion. Why are we engaging someone in the audience?
Well, we can still have a public hearing.
One thing we gotta keep in mind too, that we hear from different people. What Councilman Washington hearing from people might not be the same thing that you'll hear from people. Councilman Baker, so
I'm
let's not say I didn't hear this, because you didn't hear it, because maybe they didn't tell you, they're talking to him.
And keep in mind, guys, once this ordinance is passed, it opens the door.
But it does go to.
And once the door is open, it is difficult to put the cat back in the bag. And I'm not gonna be a council member that says, you know, rah, 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 without making sure this protects rural people. Now,
If you wanna go back 300 feet, I'll go back 300 feet. We'll end it all right now. I'm fine with that.
When the setbacks were 300 feet, I told you I didn't have a problem with that. I also had some other stipulations, which you just.
If you wanna go 300 feet, I'm fine with that.
All
That was something I wanted to start with.
I just think we need to talk about it a little bit. I mean, that's not all.
I thought we are talking about it, but yeah, but we went through the thing and I wanted 300 feet. From the start.
I think.
And I'm kind of,
We can't pass second reading tonight and have a special meeting for the next meeting and talk about it then. They give you another 2 weeks. We'd already worked on those things for months. They give you another 2 weeks to discuss it
When would we meet?
before the next meeting.
You okay with that, Mr.
I'm
McKinney?
fine, I'm fine.
Mr. Bailey?
what committee are we talking about?
No, it'll be full.
Full council.
Land use.
We land use.
Land use.
I'm okay with that.
So we can have public hearing, hear from them.
Go ahead
and
and
then-
second reading and then have a special meeting before third reading, okay?
Yeah, and council members reserve all rights.
Well, it's always the case, but yes.
I just wanted to be,
Yeah.
just wanted to be known.
We already know that, Mr. Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Byrd.
All right, we got a motion, and a second.
We actually did the public hearing.
Oh, we already did, oh, I'm sorry.
Motion to approve on this reading. Motion to approve.
Second, yeah.
Move properly seconded that we approve the second reading. And we're gonna have this committee. Prior to next meeting.
Yes.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Happy to meet you guys at any time that you need, and would happily discuss with council members in small groups or individually prior to land use committee or any has questions.
Second reading is passed tonight. Okay,
No changes to this one.
MA 2402 is the comprehensive plan 5-year update. This is third reading and there have been no changes to this request at second
Move for
reading.
approval.
second. Been moved and properly seconded that we have third reading, all in favor? Mr. Bryant, ordinance number 2014-11.
Mr. Chairman, no changes to second reading.
Move for approval.
Move for approval. Second.
Mr. Moved and properly seconded, we have third reading on ordinance number 2014-11. All in favor, please say aye. Come down to reports from other county council members.
Well, then, Mr. Chairman, my committee spoke today at quite some length. And we were very concerned about what was over the news on Channel 19.
You said your committee, what committee?
You want to know my committee, my concerned citizen committee.
That's fine, you said your committee.
Okay.
I just wanted to know if you were talking about on our committee.
We have a concerned citizen committee that speaks on issues that's impacted our county. And we were concerned about the fact that Channel 19 News came on and they talked about the quality of education in Sumter County. And this went all over the state. And as a resident of Sumter County, I'm embarrassed that our county public education system is ranked so low. I talked to one of the members of the Sumter School District's education department, and what she told me was very, very, very disturbing. There's an old saying, as the twig is bent, the tree inclines. Well, when we look at our elementary schools, there are 14 elementary schools. 7 of them are below average. Well, 6 is below average and 1 is unsatisfactory. Over 50% of our elementary schools are failing our kids. And when I say as the twig is bent, the tree inclines, now look at how it's impacting on high schools. 100% of our high schools, we have 3, are all performing below average, standard below average. Now here we have high schools, which is the last chapter in our kids' life before they go out into the world to seek other opportunities for their education, employment, U.S. military. And a lot of them can't even read or write, can't even do math, can't even get a job. And we talk about how does that impact on us as a county. Well, look at the violence that's going on. You think it does not relate to the failure of our education system? Now, a young lady is going to come up soon, I think, and talk about that. My daughter, Dr. Alexandra Baker, because we talk about it. We do the research. And this is what we see. So when we talk about kids that are walking out of school and cannot get jobs, what do you think they're going to do? You think they're going to sit back and just hang on the corner? No, they're going to get involved in drugs. They're going to get involved in gangs. They're going to get involved in selling drugs. And that's what we see right now. Mr. Chairman, I'm coming to the end of 20 years of serving on Sumter County Council. And it hurts me to my heart that what I've seen is the degrading of public education by this body, due to the failure to provide the schools money that the South Carolina Department of Revenue says they are entitled to. In 8 years, we gave them $375,000 when they were entitled to over $10 million. And look what it did. When Council Lady McGaney came up and said, we want $300,000 for the Cherryville after school elementary program. A school teacher, an educator, tutoring program. We voted them down. And consequently, they had to stop the tutoring program. Look what happened. Our elementary schools failed. When someone came to us and said, our support staff are not being paid, they want $600,000 when they're entitled to over $1 million. They want $600,000 to give these support staff a cost of living increase that they have not had in 2 years. We voted them down. While at the same time, we are voting to give Sumter County employees a minimum wage of $26,000. We don't want to give the same to employees in our school district to see that they have a standard of living. And what really hurts, we had an outside consultant to come in and evaluate our school district. This consultant came back and said Sumter County lags behind and is not competitive. And they need to come up with $3.4 million to give non-support staff teachers a raise, which they're entitled to. Because we don't support our system, they have to hire the most unqualified person and train them essentially to do the job. That's what we're fighting. So what are we going to do? Because now it's not only just being spoke of in Sumter County, it's being spoke of outside of Sumter County. The state news agency is bringing it up. And that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing when someone has to tell us that our quality of education is below average. It's not there to provide our kids what they need. But yet, you know what we do? We sit around and talk about economic development, and we say education is the backbone of economic development. If it is, we're not educating a workforce for economic development. Because one of the main reasons for public education is to provide a workforce for the economics that's coming in that we want to attract. Oh, we looked up and got the vocab or whatever that we haven't got one in over 10, 12 years. We looked up and got that. But guess what? They're saying that they're going to pay these employees $100,000. You think it's coming out of some school district? No, not a one, because they're not even qualified. That's what we're dealing with. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to let you know this right now. Yes, I'm leaving this body, but my desire to make sure, because I've been a licensed master social worker for almost 30 years, and I know the problems. I've dealt with the issues of problems of education, alcohol and drug abuse, and so forth in this county. And let me tell you this, I'm going to always be here, challenging you and talking about you and bringing it out that this body has failed and you are indirectly responsible for the low rating of education and the test scores that people are receiving. You are indirectly responsible for that because you failed to provide them with the money that the state says they are entitled to by law. You failed that. So I wish us the best. But as it stands right now, I'm hoping that this violence does not affect any one of us. because a family had to bury a 9-year-old kid because of the violence that's going on. And we can't say anything for a little boy going to bed and getting shot while they sleep. Because people are shooting in the houses, drugs, drive-bys. That's what we're dealing with. So the violence in here, in this county, is not going to do nothing but increase. Because we have a lot of kids out here that are not prepared for the future. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, as all of you know, I am a product of the public school system. All the way through. Went to a public university, South Carolina State. And I got an excellent education. I don't know what happened between the time that I finished school and today, but clearly there are gaps that are so enormous that it is crippling our society, our town, our city. When you think about the fact that we asked citizens to self-tax themselves for a penny tax, to do things like a world-class baseball park, pickleball, South Sumter Gym, but yet we won't give millage increases to the school district. That doesn't paint Sumter in a good light. Now, I don't know if the answer is charter schools or every school district. If it is, let's get to it. Let's get at it. Let's do it. If that's what works, let's go at it. If it doesn't work, we need to figure it out because things are only going to get worse. And what the councilman from Myrtle Beach Highway said is true. The district has experienced a number of vacancies. They replaced those vacancies with folks who were not equipped to be in the classroom from a couple different perspectives. Some of them were international students and there were some communication problems. Some of them were Kelly Services employees that had never been in a classroom before. But even more importantly than that, there were folks in classrooms that did not have the cultural competency to deal with those kids. And those kids come from a variety of backgrounds. Councilman from Pinewood, you play basketball with a lot of those folks. You know what I'm talking about. A lot of these kids are up all night watching their parents do drugs, maybe watching their mom get her head bashed in, and when they get to school, they're not ready to engage with somebody that doesn't understand where they're coming from. We got some problems, and we're here to solve problems. Now, money is part of the answer, and we all know that we've not done right by the school district, but there is a new school district now. And I think you're gonna see some leadership that is absolutely different than the leadership that's been in place. In fact, we have one of the new school board members here tonight, Ms. Gloria Lee, who I support and like very much. And so I want us to prepare ourselves to be objective, have open dialogue, because they're coming, and they're gonna ask. And it might be wise for us to do what I suggested 2-3 years ago, which is to begin meeting with them throughout the year, quarterly, because it's important. This is an important issue. And as the councilman from Myrtle Beach Highway indicated, it has direct ties to economic development. And so I want to ask you, Mr. Chairman, to process that. I think if we don't make the first move and request to begin meeting with the school board, I think they're gonna ask us. We're the top, we're the heavy, we ought to be asking them. But if we don't, they're gonna be asking us. And I think we need to prepare ourselves to have some very serious dialogue. So I just offer that as follow-up comments to Councilman from Myrtle Beach Highway. I know that Councilwoman from Shiloh has been in the school system for a number of years, even though she's still 25. She's been in the system for a number of years, and I think she knows exactly where I'm coming from on this. And Councilman from Pinewood, you spent a lot of time around schools as well, and so has Coach Baker. So y'all know what I'm talking about. So I just want us to refocus our thoughts, because this is coming. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And before we move from comments from council members, I do have some other comments, but if you come back to me before we move from this agenda item.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Mr. White.
So my last comments for tonight, I will tell you that I have been contacted by a number of people, non-council people, some county employees, about an email that went out. The email was regarding the Sumter item, wanting to visit with council members about their thoughts for the holidays. The email was sent out by our staff, and on the email there were 2 council members that were omitted. 2 council members and 1 council-elect individual were omitted. There were other county employees included on the email, all council members except 2, and 1 council-elect person. As I read the emails that were sent to me, because I didn't even know anything about it, to be honest with you, I noticed the email and the absence of the 2 sitting council members that were excluded. Staff member who communicated the email was contacted by Dr. Bacon, and it was brought to their attention that these council members, council-elect person were not included. You would think that there would be a correction email sent out with an apology. This did not happen. What happened is that Ms. Blanding, being the angel that she is, does what she usually does, which is try to cover for anything that is going wrong and to try and fix it, which was not her responsibility. Now, our staff is professional. We have professional journalists on staff. A mistake like this should not be made, and certainly if it is made, it should be corrected and apologies communicated. None of this happened. So we're going to change that tonight. Moving forward, if there is an email sent to council members by staff, county administrator needs to sign off on it first. He administers the staff, and if staff is not sending out appropriate and professional correspondences, which is clear, and if necessary, I can go into another example if you would like for me to. We can go down the rabbit hole. But moving forward, these correspondences need to go through the county administrator, so he signs off on them. The council members that were omitted, I don't think they were embarrassed, I don't think they took it personally, but it's a matter of principle, and it's a matter of those council members being elected to represent their constituency. And if some council members are getting communication that all council members did not get, it is inappropriate and it is unacceptable, and tonight we fix that. And whether it's from the communications department, whether it's from the staff attorney, whether it's from any employee, from this point forward, if it's going to council members, it needs to go through the administrator. As I mentioned, there were even county employees on the email, but excluded council members and the council elect person. Those are my comments, Mr. Chair. And, you know, my gentleness in communicating this tonight is because I'm providing an opportunity to make the change. If we have subsequent conversations, it probably won't be as genteel. So I'm bringing it to your attention, Mr. Chairman, and County Administrator. Whatever comes to us, he needs to see it first. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else? Monthly reports, Mr. Brandon.
It's the legislative breakfast that's going to be December 13th. The chamber is sponsoring it, and it is at Christ Community Church. And I think I've got most of the council members' names for it, but if anyone else plans to attend, please let me know. And just a second. Shaw, if council members would like to participate in this, please let me know. The Christmas tree lighting program will be on Friday, December the 6th at 4:30 p.m. And Mr. Baton will be the MC for the program. And any other council members that can come. We have a lot of students this year, and one of the classes, number 5, Manchester Elementary School chorus, will have 50 students. So we're excited about that. And council annual Christmas dinner will be the 9th of December. And then there are 2 people that are retiring, the Honorable Eugene R. Baton and a person called Mary Duffy Blandon. And those that would like to come, please do. The 2025 South Carolina Farmer Resource Rodeo, if anyone's interested, please let me know that as well. And I know this is far in advance, but when I get the information of the new clerk, we'll make sure that South Carolina Rural Summit, that you all are signed up for it. And please let us know as early as possible so we'll have that. And I do have your chamber retreat information. Just one last thing. I want council members to know that this is in your packet. You may not have looked at that, but before you, when we schedule the meeting, that you'll have that information. Okay? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, council members, just quickly, I will take the opportunity to review this situation that Councilman Washington mentioned. I was completely unaware of it. And I know that sometimes the situation is that we've got council members that do not have Sumter County emails, and maybe all of our staff don't have access to the outside emails other than Sumter County. But we'll certainly review that. It should not ever be that intention for anybody to miss out on any information. I assure you that's not the situation, but we'll review it, and certainly if it needs to be adjusted, we'll make sure adjustments are made. That's all, sir.
Mr. Chair. Okay. Ms. Blandon, Mr. Chairman, I want to address Ms. Blandon, if you would permit. I'm not sure if this is your last meeting or not, but I want you to know that I have found you to be the epitome of professionalism, and your desire to want things to move smoothly, and your Christian attributes show very clearly. And while I may be the newest council member here in the 4 years that I've been here, I have so enjoyed our interactions and conversations, and you even mentoring me in the way that you do. And I want you to know that you will be sorely, sorely missed by me, and I think I speak for most people in this room. Probably not a better one. When you leave this office, I hope that you will do that with your head up high. You left a perfect example and work history to follow, and I want that to be known publicly from me to you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I hope I haven't abused my time. Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to comment on that. Mr. Washington said, the only good part about the clerk of court leaving is that I'm leaving with her.
Okay, come now to the public comment portion of our agenda. Citizens desiring to speak during public comment are limited up to 3 minutes. Comments will be made through the chairman. If there are any questions, they will be answered after the meeting. Public comment is now open. If you wish to speak to council, please proceed to the podium, state your name for the record.
Very simple and easy. My name is Don't laugh, Jimmy. I noticed, because I can't make all the meetings, I have other stuff, we didn't run do another meeting
I'm
right
sorry,
now.
man. Did you say your name?
Cindy Brooks Parks.
Okay, Ms. Parks, thank you.
I was going to talk to Jimmy about it a couple weeks ago, but he was running and I was running. I have an issue. I am not able to make all your meetings. And when I can't make them, and when I go look for them, they're not there. So my issue is, what do the citizens do when they can't come to the meetings? They want to know what you guys are talking about, and it's not there. What do we do? Chairman, I'm talking to you. What do we do?
Well, they're on YouTube the next day.
No, that's not true. No, it's not true. I'm gonna pull it up. See, I didn't bring it tonight. But I was going, like I said, I was gonna talk to Jenny about it. But I will go back and pull some up. Now, they're up to date now. But I have not been able to make the meetings, and I was looking for them and they're not there. So my question goes back to when I came the first time. Well, not we, because I'm retired, thank you, Lord. But people get paid by taxpayers' money. I'm a citizen and I pay taxes in Sumter now. We expect certain things from our employees. And when they're not getting done, we have a problem with that. So when I come to your meeting and I ask you about it, I expect to see some results. The last time I was here, I went to the county assessor's office and stuff. That young lady that I talked about looked like she's in a biker trailer thing. She's still looking the same way. It's a level of professionalism that we should expect from every employee that works for the city of Sumter, because we pay taxes. And if we're not at the meetings, I want to hear them, because I can't come to all of them. We're ready to leave right now, go to a Delta meeting. But that's all I have to say. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Parks.
evening, Council Chairman. I'm Dr. Alexandra Baton. As you know, my cohort here at Captain Hawkins, we're back again, hoping that we can get a draft of an ordinance to kind of minimize firearm use in residential areas of the county so that the sheriff can review it and see if it's something that he can enforce. So hopefully that can get on your agenda at some point. It will be great to address the gun violence. And I know my father, Gene Baton, asked me to mention some stats real quick, so I'll keep it really fast because all of you are smart. Yes, he's exactly right. There is a direct correlation between high school graduation and crime. And for each missed year of high school, the propensity for violent crime increases. That crime turns into violent crime. They're no longer committing property crimes, but violent crimes. And on the flip side of that, kids who are in school, and this is why it's going to be so important to give the school their millage, not just for the teacher's pay, but when children are in school, violence among each other increases, even when they're there. So that's why it is important to have more psychologists, social workers, and counselors. And I know for a fact, because I used to work for the district, I taught at the jail, they are short of those types of staff. And extracurricular activities, because the research shows from Harvard FBI crime statistics, if kids are kept busy, even with after-school activities, band, anything, a lot of those things that have been taken out of the schools because of money, then they are less likely to commit crimes. So just something short and sweet, but the schools, yeah, they do need their money, and it's not just for teacher pay, but yes, they need that too, but the other programs really need to be there because those things do have a direct impact on crime as well. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Dr. Bates. Anyone else? And I declare public comment closed.
For adjournment.
Moving properly second that we adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.